unless you want to have some unrecorded questions, but I guess not. So welcome to mini proposal workshop, and we are using mini proposal templates to ideate on AI tooling for decentralized groups. I prepared a little agenda here, and so at first I will spend a little bit of time, because a lot of you are new here, to show what has been done before, and but I will do it in like a train wreck style, where we just go through a lot of content, and then you kind of get, okay, where is this ship going? And then a little bit also showing a progress bar, like where we are at this program. And today main discussion will be on proposal costs. So we will be doing sticky notes about the tasks we think this proposal should do. And you will get the context as I move into through the overview side. And if time allows, we also will be using Google Excel to everybody ideate on what they think the time spent to this task is, and this could give us a little interesting insight of different perspectives of where they think the task amount goes into. And yeah, then we have a session overview describing what we were able to do, what we were able to learn today, and then we do the final feedback and questions, and I'll share my report link in the Zoom chat.
Yes, sorry, Tevo. So maybe because there's also Vietnamese here, so if there's like something you feel that very important, then you can pause and I will help with the translation. Is it okay?
Yeah, it's okay. We actually had this interesting same thing on Latam Down Hall, where they translated into Spanish.
Oh, that's great. Yes, thank you.
Do you want to give a quick overview what is going to be today's agenda right now, or I go into content and then?
Okay. Yes. So let me have a brief description first. Okay. Thì hôm nay anh Tevo sẽ giới thiệu cho mọi người về cái workshop của anh ấy trong cái chuỗi workshop mà AI Tooling for Decentralized Groups. Thì workshop này chủ đề nó sẽ là về chi phí của dự án và những cái và cái timeline và cái thời gian mình sẽ deliver, mình sẽ đề xuất cho cái dự án của mình. Thì ở đây là cái timeline và có cái đường link mà cái bài phát biểu của ảnh cũng đã gửi cho mọi người trong phần chat box, mọi người có thể follow theo bên đó. Thì cái phần này nó sẽ bao gồm là mọi người có thể nhìn đây là 7 phút đầu tiên anh ấy sẽ giới thiệu sơ qua về cái workshop mà của ảnh. Cái thứ hai là 40 phút sau đó thì ảnh sẽ giới thiệu về cái chi phí cho dự án, cũng như là những cái mình cắt những cái task ra như thế nào và tính toán cho từng cái task đó với số tiền như thế nào. Và mình sẽ có 3 phút sau đó sẽ là overview lại cái session này, và cuối cùng là 10 phút mình sẽ xem lại mình đã học được những cái gì từ cái buổi session này, và sau đó sẽ có Q&A. Thì các anh chị nếu mà muốn có đặt câu hỏi thì mình cứ đặt câu hỏi trong phần chat box, thì bên em sẽ ghi nhận lại và mình sẽ trả lời sau khi anh Tevo đã hoàn thành xong cái bài giới thiệu này. Em xin cảm ơn ạ. Okay, Tevo, please go ahead.
Okay, cool. Well, I will be then being a little more brief on the content, because it will be quite hard to translate if I go through everything. So I will say that a story of where it started. So the first session we usually have with mini proposal workshop is to had it in Catalyst, where a lot of people came together and proposed their ideas, what they should discuss for this mini proposal workshop. Because this fund, I wanted to do it a little bit differently, where we take one idea and go through all the chapters, where previously in previous funds, I only did this like all few proposals and help to them assess like problem statements and solution statements. Do you want to start like translate that part, like where it started?
Okay. Yeah. So maybe I think I will grab the main idea. Maybe you just go with it. I will grab the main idea later. Yes.
All right. So in the first session, we were like, okay, we want to help provide AI tools for decentralized groups. And then there was like a bunch of ideation on that, where we came down to solution, disseminate or problem statement, disseminating and documenting meetings are time-consuming activities. And we wanted to focus on video and audio like resources we are producing. And then the first solution was a quite big one, a sustainable open source community infrastructure that provides an AI tool to automate meeting documentation and retrieve insights. However, with that solution, we had like 4 different components we needed to kind of digest. Dashboard where users interface, and AI bots that compute the power that the information is given, also how it's trained, so that people have on the same page on how these AIs are working and what they're using and how is your privacy and all of that stuff. And final piece is community collaboration. How do we even bring the people and understanding to use the tools, the dashboards, and all the other members that work on similar tools or platforms on their environments and on their communities. So we had a bunch of sessions here. You can also find all these videos in all of these sessions. If you want to go into detail and you're interested in these kinds of discussions. And we came down to the solution that we're going to work on community collaboration. Yeah. Meanwhile, we had also a lot of other chapters like proposal titles, type and taxonomy, stakeholder network. But yeah, we then came to conclusion that this is a quite big scope for mini proposal. So we took this down to the community collaboration and re-advised our solution and problem statement. To open source style platforms that use AI are not being integrated with each other. And our solution is to create community standards on how to introduce interoperable AI features.
Okay, yes, so maybe I have a quick translation here. Đây là một cái dự án cũng khá là lâu dài của anh Tevo, đó là cái mini proposal workshop. Thì anh chia nhỏ nó ra thành nhiều cái chủ đề khác nhau, và mục đích chính của cái phần này đó là giúp cho những người proposer có thể sử dụng ảnh sẽ cung cấp một cái AI pool cho những cái group decentralized, những cái group phi tập trung, và anh cũng muốn giúp những cái chủ dự án có thể tiếp cận hơn về những cái tool AI, và để mà hỗ trợ cho những cái dự án của họ. Thì để mà làm được cái việc này thì nó khá là mất thời gian. Thì đầu tiên là ảnh chia nó ra thành nhiều cái chapter, nhiều cái chương khác nhau, và mọi người có thể xem kỹ hơn trong cái microboard của anh Tevo, thì nó có sẵn những cái video, có nhiều session mà mình có thể tham khảo. Về cái phần chi tiết đó, thì lúc nãy cũng khá là nhiều thông tin, cho nên là em không có dịch được hết, cho nên là mọi người có thể hỗ trợ giúp em mình xem lại video và xem cái phần sub cũng được ạ. Tại vì nó cũng anh cũng nói về một số cái term technical mà nãy em chưa có ghi kịp ạ. Và mình có thể tham khảo thêm về cái Microboard, một cái đường link mà anh có để ở trên cái chat box ạ. Yes, okay.
Right. So yeah, with this we also actually introduced a bit, because it's an emerging, we are all here in the same room, we have the same thoughts, and then despite this like one chapters, like we created like all kinds of meeting notes, so the board got a little bit more messier. But now if I show you progress bar, this is where basically we spent. Like we went through this opening part where we spent time on problem ideation, solution ideation, and twice. And as you can see, like a lot of time was spent on like figuring out where should we actually put our first priority focus. And then after that, we also have been defining success, key performance measures, user experience, proposal roles. And today we will be working on proposal cost and delivery schedule. And of course, schedule, you can see we had a bunch of workshops. And actually today, the Eastern Town Hall is the last session we have planned. So what's going to happen next, I will share at the end of the session. Yeah, if you move right, then you can see different sessions, some sticky notes. I would say that the best thing to start from probably is to give a little insight into defining success, because now with this solution to create community standards and how to introduce interoperable AI features. The main elements would be to have workshops, to have events, and some partners who already use platforms. And then main thing is to create the standard documentation. And all of them should be kind of interlinked, that we create this documentation together. And here are some risks that come up with that, and we can go into later. Also key performance measurements, like when we took these risks and these outputs we want to have from proposal and brainstormed what kind of measurements they should have. But this also gave an interesting map that we start with standard documentation, which leads into a rule book how the reputation is shared, and the proof of concept how to integrate different open source models. Because the rule book, how do we work together, is very important. Because now let's assume there are developers in this room or people who are watching and want to be part of, like, I want to also have an AI tool. I would like to integrate and create this, be part of the standard documentation. How can I make it simple that from a different community, they could simply click and use my AI tooling and the revenue is shared fairly, whatever that means. But this is important also to be addressed and discussed. How do we share our revenues when we combine our DAO platforms and integrate them each other, and also add AI tools on top of that? So when we come together, we basically start doing tasks. We're gonna start out the events from that, and in the events there are a lot of participants which are basically part of domain-specific communities or products, and they are basically the people who are going to provide the proof of concept. How do we integrate different platforms? And on the different platforms, we're going to have microservices and use cases, which then is going to be the outreaching method for scaling it up. And in the last session, oh no, actually this wasn't last session, but in the Gimbal Lab session, we also then discussed a bit of user journey. And interestingly enough, we took the first key element we were going down was like what people are interested about when they hear about the standard. And we thought it's having access to your community groups, meeting insights, and basically the way we use our data. So they understand that when they get into our process, they will be already being like educated of how your information is going to be used, where it's located, and how can you improve it. But of course, that's one of many use cases, but we went with one user journey. Then we ideated on proposal roles. I have a bunch of roles here. We didn't go too in depth of reasoning all the roles, but we were able to ideate quite many of these. So today we perhaps also will check on some of these and squeeze out some tasks based on, oh, this role, I assume then it requires these tasks. And this leads to our final chapter, where we are going to ideate on all kinds of tasks people will do for this proposal. And if you have any questions, and I help to ideate also to and see in like next 20 minutes of how many sticky notes we could gather.
Okay, thank you so much. And dạ, mọi người có thể vào trong cái link robot, mọi người có thể bắt đầu xem cái chuỗi những cái workshop này á, bắt đầu từ cái chapter số 6, từ chapter 6 thì mình có thể xem đó là defining success. Mọi người có thể xem tất cả những cái discussion và một số cái link, một số cái một cái số cái map brainstorm của anh. Và sau đó mình có thể đi, sau đó mình xem qua đến chapter số 7 là KPI, là có thể có rất là nhiều cái cách để mà mình có thể break down cái KPI ra. Mình có thể dùng những cái map giống như anh đang sử dụng. Và cái tiếp theo nữa là mình qua đến cái phần số 8 là user experience. Ở đây anh cũng làm một số cái mind map rất là chi tiết và một số cái discussion rất là chi tiết. Mọi người có thể tham khảo thêm ạ. Và đi tới cái chapter thứ 9 là proposal role. Mình sẽ chia ra những cái role cần thiết ở trong cái proposal và những cái thông tin cần thiết như thế nào. Và tiếp theo những cái chương cuối đó là chương số 10, đó là về cái chi phí và cái timeline cho cái dự án của mình. thì mình sẽ cần những cái thông tin như thế nào, bao nhiêu giờ làm cho những cái công việc như thế nào. Anh ấy cũng có một số cái timeline để và cũng như là giúp cho cái nhóm của mình có thể làm việc tốt hơn khi mà làm một cái dự án. Dạ vâng ạ. Okay.
Yeah. And as you can see, all of this information is also provided as an example. And that's why we record it. And that's why we kind of go over this stuff and trying to stick with the idea of like ideating on proposal on different perspectives. And so those people who are like thinking, oh, how do I do KPIs and how do I do that? Then there is a video, there will be also guiding material and templates. So those who are interested in this kind of information, that's this Board itself is a good use case. And also if you want a clean template to actually, I can provide you the link here. And with the single use template button, you're able to copy paste the total clean template. Anyway, with that, let's jump into chapter 10. And first thing, I did on all kinds of tasks people will do for this proposal. And here we are listing all the resources we need for each of the stage. And we're going to think of all the elements that, and then we try to cost them. And we should also consider including budget elements for community management, project management, and documentation. So if we are finished and we haven't included any of that, we definitely should. I did some suggestion where we could gather some initial insights. For example, chapter 9, 6, 8, and 7 would give us quite good information. So chapter 9 was the proposal roles. So hearing what I mentioned, what kind of tasks you would come up with when you see these roles and giving the context of creating events and standard documentation for developers and collaboration. Does anybody want to open the floor? Or maybe Mia must translate it also.
Dạ, ok. Thì mọi người đây là một cái template, một cái mẫu mà mọi người có thể sử dụng. Mọi người anh nói là anh vừa có gửi cái link cho mọi người, mình chỉ cần bấm copy là mình có thể sử dụng cái mẫu đó, và tất cả những cái thông tin ở trên đây thì đều là ví dụ hết. Thì anh nói là khi bây giờ anh sẽ bắt đầu với cái chapter thứ 10, đó là làm về cái proposal budgeting. Khi bắt đầu tiên á, thì mọi người có thể nhìn thấy trong cái chapter 10 á, là mình đầu tiên là mình có thể liệt kê ra tất cả những cái nguồn mà mình cần trong mỗi một cái giai đoạn mà làm dự án của mình á. Thì sau đó anh cũng nói là có thể bắt đầu bằng cái việc copy và dán cái role từ bên chính bên chapter chính qua bên đây. Hi Tevo, do you mention that you want people to really do like to copy and paste, do it on Miraboard, right?
Also in meeting chat, they can, if the Miraboard doesn't load or it's a bit of confusing, we can also share and just open your mic and I will take the sticky notes.
Oh, which mean like, sorry, I don't really get it, but you want like everybody to actually do it together with you, right?
Yeah,
like to interact on Miraboard. Okay. Dạ thì mọi người, nếu mà mọi người có access vào Miraboard, mọi người có thể tương tác trực tiếp ở trên đó bằng cách là mình bấm copy và dán những cái sticker này á. Ví dụ như mình nghĩ là trong cái dự án của mình cần cái gì đó thì mình có thể copy từ bên phần số 9, chapter 9 mình dán vào bên chapter số 10 á, thì mọi người có thể tương tác, mọi người có thể làm thử luôn bây giờ luôn ạ. Okay, I tell everybody to do it. Mọi người có thể viết cái task mà mình cần làm, ví dụ mọi người có thể thử sử dụng cái tool này ạ.
And we can also have an open mic. So, for example, I say, Tia, tell me, what's your first tasks that come up when we mention community standards for decentralized AI tooling and platforms?
Mọi người sử dụng có gặp vấn đề gì không ạ? Mọi người có thể thử. Okay.
or Andy, what's on your mind? What kind of tasks you think we should already start including? Seeing these roles, what you think that are these activities that we should list?
We take a look a while on it. Yeah, people haven't got an idea right now.
All right, so let me then kick it off with at the start. So, for example, standard documentation. There was a translator for other languages. So one task obviously will be the translating documentation. I'm gonna put them on the left side because we're gonna move it to the chapter then. Another thing is architect designer, style designer for documentation. So that would be then, I would assume, not assume, but propose to create designs in Microboard because it's the tool I use, but there are definitely other solutions. But then I will be very specific that Microboard designs to show data process movements, for example, and design explaining how different products and features are related. Yep. Project management. Then UI designer, basically, that is creating visual content, and style designer for documentation. I think even the formatting document to cohesive like or similar style. So back to you. So anybody wants to continue and tell me what does coordinator do?
Yes.
Although
sure.
even
Yeah. Okay, go ahead, please.
I was thinking maybe project management and coordinator is almost the same thing. Although, or what are your thoughts, guys? Do you feel like coordinator and project manager should be the same thing, or they are different because coordinator just takes care of that, where the people are in participation, they know the information where it's to get, like, where are the events happening, and project manager is more like making sure that the events are happening, but coordinator make sure that people are coming to these events. So.
Mọi người có thể thì anh Tevo đang list ra một số cái nghĩa là những cái task mà cần phải làm. Mọi người tưởng tượng là một cái task mình cần phải làm những cái gì đó, thì mình có thể list ra như vậy. Thì mọi người có thể thử tương tác bằng cách đánh tiếng Việt cũng được ạ. Có một cái sticker đó, mọi người nó có thể đánh tiếng Việt, mọi người có thể tự tạo một cái sticker, mọi người có thể dùng thử cái này như thế nào ạ?
Okay. Should I get a translation for this quote that on with? Because I have no clue what this means.
This one does mean you can type Vietnamese.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it's like another activity. Okay, we have stayed here for a little. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna paste this over to our chapter 10 area. Then let's jump into, I'm going to take this with us. Let's see what we can find from risk sides. So what are the main risks that could prevent you from delivering your project successfully? So we wanted to have multiple open source platforms and tools that are integrated with each other. And our risks were, it's going to require support from both sides to collaborate. And then standard, so we are creating a standard on how to collaborate and what are the expectations. So that is actually a clear deliverable we will be needing. So it's a task basically. Great. Standard documentation for collaboration. And we could also say like a code of conduct is such a part of that. Anything else you want to reiterate? For example, some things are too specific. When more requests from same features come from different perspectives, there will be more thought put into this. Features made too complex. Okay, so this is the risk of start off by integrating easier but still highly useful features. Should mention integration. Integrating AI tools. Okay, let's say integrate one AI tool. Integrate one platform feature with another platform, for example. API calls, there is a parallelism, a lot of work can be done, but the value may not be shared fairly. So great. Revenue sharing standards. Great revenue sharing standard. Let's make it one thing. So one thing we also, when we do tasks, let's try to be like minimum viable first. So although this may all include into like a documentation for collaboration, but who knows? Uneven competition. Have a long, I can't make it open source. Okay. Anybody notice something from risk sides or an output side that we should include as tasks to this proposal? Like what tasks you do when these proposals get funded, basically. Yeah, there's actually a lot of them. Like for example, we will create a standard what are interoperable, that are interoperable with Atalabris, because we actually selected Atalabris challenge settings for our front end. So let's include this in, for example. Okay, I'm going to copy paste this over to the chapter then. And shall we go to one more chapter to get even more sticky notes? Or will we, are you ready to step on the second phase of the ideation?
Okay, let me talk to them. Yeah, so anh Tevo vừa mới link qua bên một cái chapter 6 để viết một số cái gọi là những cái quy định chung của trong cái dự án của mình. Vậy tại vì mình sẽ làm việc cùng với nhiều người cho nên là sẽ có những cái quy định chung thì mình có thể liệt kê ra như vậy. Thì mọi người có thể thử xem qua trong cái chapter 10, có nghĩa là mọi người đi từng bước sau đó thì mình tổng hợp lại trên một cái chapter, trong một cái chapter 10 như thế này. Dạ, anh Tevo hỏi là mọi người có muốn thu hoạch thêm nhiều sticker nữa không, đi qua những cái chapter khác nữa không, hay là mình đi qua cái giai đoạn tiếp theo?
Chắc là pick up thêm 1, 2, 3 cái sticker nữa.
So everybody want to get more sticker. like to go through some of others. I need to get to know more about this.
Okay, let's see what we can find from chapter 7, KPIs. So it would be extremely easy if we would have done entire table, but because we didn't, we have to basically find the ideas from the sentiments. Okay, so for standard documentation, it's actually quite easy, I think. How often, oh, actually, even including that, how many of the version changes, how many times it's used, how many elements it has. Basically, we would need a person who is collecting KPI information into standard format. Then how to integrate education, how to manage data, how it should be. And these are all the standard documentation examples. So might as well take these and see what people think, how much it takes to create these guides. A rule book, how reputation is shared between contribution and developers, and rewards. Somebody has to distribute rewards. So we need, let's call it accountant or a treasury manager to distribute rewards between contributors. Tasks, activities, obviously, this is what we are working on. We're having events. So you created me, Andy, all of you are experts at creating events. What are the main tasks that come up that you do every time you do these workshops, or like these town halls, for example?
So we're looking for the content first. Yes. And
Then what happens?
And learn what the community needed at the moment. Yeah.
So I would say that this reshares content would be
Included
it would,
already,
yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Creating the timeline, do marketings. Yeah, so I think those are basic steps.
All right. And as participants, were you comfortable with voicing opinion? Facilitator. So actually, the time it takes to facilitate is also a task. Facilitate sessions. And like keeping it nice and tidy or progressed. From platforms. What tasks we would expect? Okay, integrations, we kind of mentioned microservices. Kind of, not really. Oh, we have videos as output. Are there any tasks we do or anybody in team does when video is out? Does anybody edit it? So, and should we need it? Video editing. I think a lot of like thumbnails, market information. Yeah, we can go very detailed. So at a high level, let's take these sticky notes from KPIs. Let's move them to here. Okay, we have now a little more sticky notes than before. So I'm gonna add them into the Google Sheet. And now definitely let's get into the second part of the session. So what I did here was you can simply highlight all the stickies you want from Miraboard. And if you copy paste them on Google Sheet, you get them in nice one row. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share the link to the Google Sheet. And now everybody who understands the English, or even if he kind of needs to understand English, what's written here. And what we are going to do next is everybody puts their hours, how much they think it will take time to do this activity. And when we say coordinating team with workshops and public events, per event. Project management. Yeah. That's a hard one. So yeah. And then now the question is how many people of you are gonna do it? Because I will actually then create one sheet for everybody so that you can take like 5 minutes, everybody goes to the list, and then we compare the times. So can we, for example, raise up hands if you want to fill up the Google Sheet?
Okay.
Raise my hand.
Mọi người hiện tại thì anh Tevo có chỉ là mọi người có thể copy những cái sticker ở bên Miro á, mọi người có thể paste qua bên Google Sheet và nó sẽ hiện trên một hàng như thế này. Và như này thì mọi người có thể làm việc cùng với nhau, chẳng hạn như là mình có thể tính cái số giờ cho mỗi cái task như thế nào. Thì yeah. So anh Tiến, please, anh want to fill the Google Sheet, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who is
Okay.
on the first sheet doing it?
Yeah. Mọi người có thể thử fill in cái Google Sheet bằng cách copy dán thử ạ. So let's see.
Whose name I put on the first sheet? I see already some hours added here. Who wants to take responsibility for those hours?
Mọi người muốn để tên lên cái sheet này thì mọi người giơ tay lên, anh Tevo sẽ để cái tên mọi người trên đây.
I'm gonna put Andy here because you're active. You must also give us insights. I'm not sure he's linked here, but I will give her. So let's try. And also okay, I will again then the first page. I'm gonna delete this because you didn't say who is doing it. And now we start. So we have 5 people who wanted to give the hours. So now I'm gonna stop sharing, and the link is in the Zoom. And let's take a few minutes. And when you're done, lower your hand. And then we compare our assumptions that these tasks will take.
Anh Tevo sẽ cho mọi người một xíu thời gian để mọi người fill vào cái điền cái giờ cho những cái task đó vào trong cái Google Sheet, và sau đó mọi người có thể cùng nhau so sánh xem. Thì đây là một kiểu như là một hoạt động nhóm, thì khi mà các bạn làm nhóm thì mình có thể làm cùng với nhau như thế này.
And I created a page for you to meet.
Mọi người có thể vào cái link Google để mọi người follow theo ạ.
Hi, Tevo. I assume that the hour allocated here is it is suppose that I'm having a project, so I estimate hour needed for individual tasks, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and some tasks may be unclear, and try to scope it down to the minimum. So when we say like creating events, then it doesn't actually mean like all the events like what we could do, because we don't know how many we're gonna do, but like then one event then. And if it's like video editing, it's not meaning all the videos, but only one video, how much it would take. And if you're confused, you can always ask questions, or alternatively you skip that, or give your best assumptions, because when we later compare our all assumptions, we will see discrepancies, and then we can talk about it.
Thank you.
Oh, Tevo, so I see some sentences start with the question word how. So like
Yeah,
how to integrate. Yeah.
These were all the documentation. So these were the standard documentation, like
Oh, it's
like paragraphs. Like yeah, assume that as a document that tells you how to do that thing.
oh, got it. Got it.
Writing a guide and then assume how much it takes to research and to create that document, basically.
Okay. Yeah, I'm done.
Wait a second. I'm slow. I think maybe at least 2 minutes.
So I would count my is per event. So the time we calculated is for per event.
Alrighty, I made it also now. Let me find my way to lower my hand. And let's see. And this almost there, little confused. We has completed. Oh no. Okay. Gonna start sharing screen again. I'm going to copy paste all our information to the first page, so we can see all of them. Wait a second. Is there a formula? No, there isn't. Oh no. I actually already cheated. I had a percent instead of over. And the and oh, what a great name. Ah. Oh, yay. So what do we see from here? So obviously we went a little bit rushing all of these tasks. Sometimes you will want to, with your team, when you do proposals, spend more time, even also makes sense that you all understand the task the same way before you go estimating hours. But the point here was to kind of give the sense of what we are doing and what the output would look like. So when we look at coordinating team workshops and public events, mostly we are all on the same line, except I am downplaying it. Most of you see the same hours, and Ha actually thinks the coordinating takes 4 hours. So twice as more time than usual. And here could be a quote question points. Ha, what does it take? Why does coordinating workshops and events take 4 hours? And we can learn what he thinks or she thinks as when coordinating. Would that be possible for you to describe what went in your mind when you put 4 hours into this first task?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Thì anh nói sau khi mà mình làm nhóm á, khi mà mình có những cái task rồi mình break ra những cái task, mình đưa vào những cái file mà mình vừa làm như lúc nãy, thì mỗi người có thể tự đề xuất một cái khung giờ mà mình nghĩ là mình có thể hoàn thành cái task đó. Thì sau đó khi mà mình sẽ gộp nó lại như thế này và mình so sánh xem là có cái sự khác biệt nào giữa những cái thành viên với nhau, và từ đó mình cũng có thể hiểu được là với mọi người sẽ nhìn nhận một cái task mà sẽ làm những cái việc khác nhau như vậy, thì mình có thể cân đối những cái task và cũng thống nhất lại cái khung giờ làm việc để mà có thể tính tiền cho mỗi một cái task để cho cái dự án của mình. Yes, dạ vâng. Okay, Tevo, yeah. So, wanna go on?
Okay, actually, I was assuming Ha will share his experience of why it actually takes 4 hours to coordinate workshops and teams, because what we want to now to get down to is, do we all agree with her, or like what is our collective choice for these hours? So of course this is like one method of doing proposal budgeting, but the way we have been also doing it for some proposal is that we agree with all the people participating that, okay, so when you say 4, we say 3, can we meet in the middle way 3, like we say 3 in middle, and because this is going to affect our proposal, and once we get funded from all of that amount, then we don't start like over budgeting for some people and under budgeting to other people because we kind of pre-agreed on some kind of notion. But okay. Perhaps then we can move on. For the example, the second part, I actually put percent here because it's very hard to estimate project management. Like it wasn't first time clear. Is it event? Are we for project management or creating documentation project management? Like what are we managing? What is that project? And all of these have different time consumption. So yeah, here we probably are quite all over the place. But I'm interested, what is Andy thinking when I mentioned project management, and then you're like, 1 hour is easy.
Okay. Yeah, maybe manage only one event, like one task, maybe like many projects management, so that we can go with 1 hour. Yeah, just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, it was not quite clear for me about the scope of the project itself. So I was thinking when me is saying that hey, she was actually putting the hours based on like for example for the event. So
Yeah.
let's say by the events, every event that we can take just so 1 hour of project management, looking at things, having meeting. So in average is 1 hour for all the events for each of the event. So yeah, that's why I'm putting there 1 hour, because if we want to see, it's actually better on your way, Tevo, taking 40% of the whole time that going to be spent in the whole the whole series of activities. But then I was not thinking that way. I was just thinking on it's a specific task, then we can take it just like 1 hour for its event or something like that.
Yeah, and there we definitely saw right now that the different, if we don't do this, what is project management, what task it is, we're gonna have totally random numbers, and this was quite clear from here, and this requires more specification. And then now we actually, me and you both added, like described in these few discussions, like 8 tasks or something, like what we could consider under project management, and this is how you can explore more of them. Creating training materials, and like creating one training material. Here we also are basically doubling time. Also TN, would you share why did you put 10 hours creating one training material, or you thought it's a multiple one? What went your mind?
Yes, I understand that I assume that I create a training material for my sample project, for whole project, not in the per event. Sorry.
Yeah, so a little on clarification. However, for the rest of tools, how did you almost thought the same way, that it's like multiple materials, or for example, I used it as like a single thing, and then I was like estimating one material takes around 4 hours. And to me, a training material is just a documentation and with no videos, no other stuff. So what were your, Andy or me, what were your thoughts of what is a training material?
For me, myself, it's actually just like you said, it's for one training material. So I was thinking about the one training is running for like 1 or 2 hours. Yeah. Whether it's a reading or also a live session, for example. And for those kind of session, then I will estimate like we need at least double the time of preparing the materials. So yeah, I took if one training is about 1 to 2 hours, then I assume that I will need at least 4 hours to do this, to prepare the materials.
Yeah, for me, the training material for me is like doing slide and maybe documentation, no videos like that. So I think it's gonna take some time to prepare, and normally maybe maximum or average 4 hours to do once perfectly. Yes.
Yeah, and if we would put me and Andy's work or my work together, then we would actually get hard results. So I would actually say that in this case, even if Tien taught like all materials at once, it sounds like 8 hours to one training material to have this light text, which is more like onboarding, and the document once you have got the initial onboarded, and then you have like a document to reference back to like with more details. So yeah, let's skip to and see what interesting stuff you can find so we don't have to go row by row. Example, this design explaining how different products and features are related. To me, this is like a cool brainstorming activity on Miro board, and it could be done quite effectively. Like first 1 hour is kind of setting the stage, second hour is getting the content down, third hour is moving it around, fourth hour is kind of like finalizing and getting kind of clicked it together. But Ha here shared her thought of 60 hours. I wonder, does she want to share her thoughts?
Yes.
And
Chị
she
Hà
can
ơi,
do it. Sorry, her own language.
yes. Chị Hà ơi, anh Tevo hỏi là chỗ đó chị để 16 tiếng là chị ý là mình sẽ làm những cái task nào á?
Ở đây hay Hòa hiểu cái tiếng Anh ở đây nó có nghĩa là thiết kế cái và giải thích cái sự khác nhau giữa sản phẩm mình và những cái tính năng có liên quan, đúng không? Với những sản phẩm khác, đúng không? Thì Hà nghĩ là nó sẽ bao gồm luôn cả các công đoạn như là nghiên cứu thị trường, phân tích cái sản phẩm của đối thủ đó, rồi từ đó thì mình mới tổng hợp cái file PowerPoint. Thì Hà nghĩ là sẽ mất ít nhất khoảng 2 ngày. Từ cái giai đoạn nghiên cứu thị trường, tổng hợp thông tin, tổng hợp tài liệu.
So she shared that from her understanding, she understand that she should do the market research also as well as the research about the competitor, and also to accumulate all the data, and it's gonna take her around 2 days at least to do this task, like to explain how their product and other product, the differences and the similarities. Like, have to do a lot of more research.
Yep, that's an interesting insight. Yeah, and that actually went again back to this: how do we understand the task? And she went much harder scope, but these are something that we didn't even think about previously. That we actually should also look at competitions and like comparing what other people are doing products, because when we want to get a standard documentation, we should look at the best practices, and that was a great insight. So thank you for that. Something I see that Tien here is dropping the creating visual content. Everybody thinks it's quite easy to do, 1-2 hours, but Tien says no, this is gonna take 4 hours to me to write that background, draw that one.
I prefer have something. I prefer to have a nice document, beautiful document. I think I need more time for that, and in order to audience to see and interested in my document at the first time. So I think I will spend more time to create it.
Yeah. So you're like more thinking like first to standardize the visualizations, getting the color codes right, and then once you have done the first version, the second iteration, third one, they're gonna be faster, but just the initial start, basically. Yeah. To me, I took it quite straightforward. I threw it through the AI, let it spit something out, and slap it to the document. On the side of formatting document to similar style, me is definitely the expert here, formatting documents. I also thought it should be fast, but I never really kind of considered that as a huge task. But I kind of feel like we are all aligned, except Tien again. He wants to kind of make clear sense. What is the format? How can we adopt it to all the other documents, and they all make sense, and taking real time to make it appropriate. And I think it's also okay to actually like step back and think it through. What is the format going to look like for all the documents and going forward? Let's see what we have interesting here. Oh, on integrating one AI tool. I'm actually doing a little bit integrating with ChatGPT now to my tools, and even it used to be taking me 16 hours to kind of do it, or 16, and now it cuts down to getting into 2-4 hours. But it's just the first integration. I get the data, but it doesn't. I have to then start to transform it, move it to the correct databases or in correct formats. So it still takes a lot of time. So I'm wondering, how did you guys were able to, or girls, 1 or 2 hours?
So I have never integrate any AI tool before, so I don't know what it's gonna take. So I just put 1 hour there. Yeah.
Andy, what were you thinking?
Well, I was thinking about the Grow 20 and 21 is actually a AI tool and their platform feature. So I wasn't really understand what is it about, but I was thinking about that. Hey, we have the tools, we have the documentation for sure, and then we'll just look at the documentation and just try here this and that, and it should be done in at around 2 hours for each of the tool, right? And I was assuming that we have many tools, just like you said in the beginning, it will be hard, but as the time progresses, then it should be getting clear, right? So that's I'm trying to put there in average of one tool or one feature. So yeah, I think it's one at average it will be just like that. So yeah, that's my reasoning, I think.
Well, quite interesting. Yeah. Well, it was a little bit, again, unclear, the specifications, but then again, these differences, I would say these things will require a bit of more discussions to get like a collective hour together, and wasn't that clear cut where and other ones, but yep, that's great one. Let's see what we have. We have some confusing ones here. Some people don't put hours.
Tevo,
but for example, how to integrate, how to manage data. All of these are standard documentation. And interestingly, this time now I'm the ones who's saying, well, let's take down to create this document. And all of you are like, yeah, this is easy. We can write it. We have ChatGPT now. I haven't really used it yet, but what's your thoughts there? Any of you? Because your team is totally aligned on ours. I'm just here like missing it up.
Well, from my personal view, I think it's something that it's not really something that we are used to do, and we don't really understand what we need to do. Yeah, that's why I think most of us is just giving 1 or 2 hours, right? So I think it started because we don't really understand the scope of work that we need to do there. So we just think, but hey, it should not be too long because it will take too many hours that we spend there. But then, yeah, maybe we miss on the calculation because we just never did it before. So yeah, that's I think that's my point of view.
But that's a good point, having like a scope to understand what needs to go into the documentation, and that could actually then increase the expected hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. Do we agree? Almost we agreed on creating a timeline, except Teen. He's like, even timeline takes a little bit more time because I need to that part there. So yeah, so this was oh, actually also facilitate sessions. This is a confusing part because to me, the facilitation happens only in the meeting, and usually meetings are 1-2 hours. So is TN thinking, is still here? He's still here, but he's off camera. I wonder, can he give the final comment on why he thinks it takes 6 hours, or he's like thinking like full-blown events here, or he has something different that we didn't think about?
I think
But
he's
he'll be right back
put
to-
something in chat that he's coming back soon.
Then, well, this mystery will be unsolved, and perhaps the audience can crack this one. So yeah, I'm gonna now jump back to the motherboard because we were able to completely do this chapter 9, at least have the practice and feeling how it goes, how it works. And the final basically session overview, I will say that was a bit of a session overview. We were able to collect different sticky notes from different places when you do a full-blown proposal and you really dig into different chapters, problem statements, solution statements, KPIs, stakeholders. And then when you get to this final stage, which is most daunting one, that, okay, how much our activities then gonna cost? What should we ask from the community or the company or whoever you are proposing it? And getting this ideation list and bringing all the sticky notes into one place, having this discussion and context understanding. Sometimes it's even fine, like we did, like just getting first sticky notes, slapping them all onto Google Sheet and trying to figure out, because through this, we already kind of figured out, oh, where we have to refine. And then you do even more sticky notes, you then dump it again into Google Sheet, you then estimate, and finally you're gonna get this team consensus, and then you will get the budget cost, and that can be put into proposal. So with the final part of the session, I'm going to share feedback form. So the main thing I will be waiting for here is the share, because in the proposal, I'm actually also showing that through all of these sessions, I have over 10 perhaps now, and we all add like, was it easy to participate? Was it easy to share your opinions? And did you feel we had a good pace of progressing through the content I shared? And basically this quantifying numbers, so in the future we can see a graph of how we did. And it's also a good way for me to learn and improve the workshops I'm doing. And of course, there are qualitative information you also can share. But overall, do you have any questions, any insights you want to share, what you learned, or before we close it off?
Okay, so let me translate. It's Vietnamese. Cái buổi workshop của anh Tevo thì cũng tạm thời là cái phần trình bày cũng đã tạm thời là kết thúc ạ. Thì Tevo cũng đã tổng hợp lại thì đây là một cái mẫu mà mọi người có thể sử dụng, mọi người chỉ cần copy vào trong cái Miro board của mình, sau đó mọi người có thể anh đã có tất cả một số cái template sẵn rồi, một số cái idea sẵn rồi, thì mình chỉ cần thêm những cái ý tưởng của mình vào đó, và mình có thể paste qua Google Spreadsheet, và mình có thể cùng làm việc với đội nhóm của mình, sau đó có thể đánh giá cái thời gian làm việc cho từng cái task của một cái dự án của mình, giống như lúc nãy mình vừa làm cùng với nhau. Và sau đó là chúng ta có thể, khi mà đã thống nhất được cái task rồi, cái giờ rồi, thì mình có thể đưa ra một cái chi phí cho hợp lý cho cái dự án của mình. Dạ vâng, thì đây là một cái tổng hợp, một cái template rất là hay của nhóm, và anh Tevo cũng có gửi cho mọi người một cái link để mà nhận cái feedback từ mọi người. Mọi người có thể giúp anh Tevo làm cái feedback này để mà cho team biết là có những lúc mà cái bài giảng nó có dễ hiểu hay không, cái tương tác nó có tốt hay không, và có những cái thiếu sót hay là có những cái đóng góp gì để nhóm của Tevo có thể sắp tới có thể cải thiện hơn trong tương lai. Và Tevo có gửi cái đường link ở trong chat box, em xin gửi lại, thì mọi người có thể giúp anh làm cái feedback này. Rồi Tevo hỏi mình là có cái câu hỏi gì không ạ? Các anh chị mình có câu hỏi gì về cái phần này không ạ? So from my perspective, I think this is a very great way to work together with everyone because we do a lot of group work in Eastern Town Hall and we have never do this before. So normally we go like we have a one Google spreadsheet and we have like the blank, just like what we did, but we didn't do it individually. We put it there and anybody want to add up something, they make a note next to it. Should it be exchanged or something? And we conclude it together. But I think this is a much effective way to do group working. It's going to save time. We have a data that recorded so that we know from the beginning what did we do. Yes, and I think this is a very great workshop. And thank you so much, Tevo.
Andy, drop your bomb. You raised your hand.
Oh no, no, I didn't raise my hand. I just give you this one. The thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Yeah.
Dạ các anh chị mình có chia sẻ gì với Tevo không ạ? Mình có thể chia sẻ với anh. Thì mọi người có thể xem lại tất cả những cái workshop khác ở trên cái đường link Miro, thì phía trên góc trái của cái Miro này có một số cái link video workshop mà anh đã thực hiện, mọi người có thể xem lại ạ.
And Mystery Man is there. Do you want to say something? You opened your mic and
Hi, Tevo. I cannot attend few last minute of your sharing, but I have a question here. When you have the data, the time we estimate for individual tasks, and then how you use AI or what do you do with such data?
And actually, we do the same thing we just did here. We go through these numbers and you're trying to look for like alignment. So in the first row, we're actually quite aligned here. Okay, 2, 1 hours, not many differences. And we can basically, okay, and you basically discuss like, should we put the highest number here presented or find the middle ground? And that's kind of helps to kind of create the team understanding of where how much basically money will be given to this activity. And of course, this doesn't yet describe how many times we should do it. So that's another thing, like, okay, we do a coordinate team, but how many events we're going to have? Do we have 10, 20? And that's a different thing. We can start collecting data. And when you see like peak jumps, like TM mentions here, 10, creating materials, I see 4, this is a great like conversation topics. So why do you think it's a 10? Why do you think it's a smaller number? And basically, this data is used for conversations because it kind of gives you the heat map of where are the like differences, and the differences are great. And if it's everything is same, then it's just great way to see that entire team is aligned. And if the more granular the tasks go, the more detailed they are, the more people understand the same thing. Usually they are gonna get more aligned, and then you can start skipping. And if you do more than just one proposal, and you actually work on it for quite some time and you constantly do proposals together, then it's actually this data will be easily reusable, because all of this is modular data. The more you do it this kind of way, you can start, because for example, this is events and workshops, but Mitran was able to give her experience from facilitating these kinds of Eastern town halls and breakout rooms and what she is using. And if you do it well, that you think on all the content and tasks, you can put this into different proposals also. So that's cross using that information.
Thank you for that. I understood what did you do, but the title of our sharing is AI tooling. So I would like to understand what's the AI meaning in this topic.
Okay, so as a context, what we were working on is that we have, for example, singularity marketplace with AI tools. We have individuals who are providing AI tools. And then we have platforms like DAO or now new coming up that provide a place where you can integrate AI tools and use them. But what is missing is kind of this, all of them are in silos. And if you want to use a tool from marketplace, you have to find the developer and you have to find the tool that they or open source platform where they integrated. But what here we were trying to work on is how to make it easier so that the user just logs into a platform, and if he sees another, but oh, I like this feature, that the way you schedule meetings, for example, that you have a way to click on a different community platform and like cross over that feature from a different platform. So it's basically like having a standard where different products and platforms can be integrated with just user experience and not having to have a developer between to integrate all of that. And where we went down was we started with the idea of creating AI tools and creating that stuff, but we realized quite quickly that this is way too big proposal. Like it went into basically millions. And for this mini proposal workshop, I wanted something smaller. So we scoped down to community collaboration. So the things we were talking about in these workshops, we are coming together and talk about what kind of guides we need, how do we do this? So basically doing the research and documentation, how would you build that platform, but also creating like small proof of work of integrating one AI tool, what it's going to be about. This is up to the community to decide who will be part of this, do these events basically. And on the scope of this proposal beyond that, when we started from this side on, was to kind of how do we establish these workshops, events, and who should be involved, and what should we do in these events? What are the outputs? And from there on, from that collaboration, the AI tooling starts to kind of seep in. Okay, what do we integrate? What is the first ones, and how to make it easy so that once we do the integration and understanding with the platform, that the rest of the work, when people come in or do it somewhere else, they can kind of cross chain and or cross community use it.
Thank you. I will look at the video to have more understanding on that.
Yeah, if you, I know everybody's busy, but if it's like totally something on your board, like that you want to work in or you want to contribute to this, there are videos out there to kind of go through the content and see what people are sharing, who are involved, and then yeah, slowly getting there. And obviously, and that's actually comes to the next steps. So from the calendar, as you noticed, Eastern Town Hall was the last event, and we actually did all the templates. So these materials also are used for basically guiding people and giving them examples how to use these templates themselves. But now I'm gonna take a small break, week or two, and on the June, I probably will be creating like one more event where I bring everybody together, probably to Catalyst Town Hall, to basically, I will see if it's possible to do a closing report there or like a closing video together with people, but giving that kind of final information. So what we actually did, how it's all related, like basically what you mentioned, but a bit more prepared right now. I just rambled something from top of my head. And giving that kind of closing thought of where to go with this proposal and this emergent idea itself, because there was discussions that technically communities are already building it. They just are not yet that coordinated, and that's why the community collaboration also needed, because there are teams who are building AI pods, There are teams who are building platforms and dashboards where people can integrate all kinds of tools like Google, Figma, GitHub, Discord, Zooms. And there are people who are training their LMMs products and making it like a good way that it's transparent, and we're training that they're not like, because if you look at ChatGPT, it sometimes lies you a lot. It just comes up with random stories and it doesn't give you correct reference points. So things that some aspects of people are working. And here we are now addressing a bit of like, how do we do the community collaboration? Yeah, and on this other side, as I understand, we're also gonna put these guides into a website format so that it's much easier to kind of go through, and you don't have to do videos or like different method of consuming this material, this educational content.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Tevo. Yes, Antin.
One last question, Tevo. I am very interested in the work platform. The platform we share the task on Catalyst Swarm. So I would like to check that. In order to have a individual task, do you have do you integrate AI with that into that platform, or you split the task, or you split the task manually?
We split the tasks manually, but for example, Dowlens does say that I haven't tried myself, that they offer the Robin AI that have that. They can take the human conversation or the forum posts, and you can tell AI to do a task, and it actually creates a task, but it doesn't look like the debug at all. But yeah, so your direction and vision is right. This will go there. Will it be debug or somebody else? We will not know. The time will tell, but the AI tool sets are coming very fast. And that's why we kind of need some kind of standards of how do we collaborate as community. And so to leverage these kinds of tools that are coming out and platforms that are coming out.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And for the final note, I will mention that in Fund 11, if I come back with another mini proposal workshop, it will be more AI oriented, where we come up with stuff and then we use AI to kind of finalize this information. Because yeah, like I said, all this stuff was designed and prepared before ChatGPT was existing. And if I would have known that, I would probably made a bit more content heavier sessions, or at least with output that already gives you a document that you could propose. But yeah, thanks for joining. Thanks for helping me out and ideating proposal with me.
Thank you. And I'm waiting for your next mini proposal workshop that you just mentioned. I'm looking forward to it. And thank you, Tevo, for your times and very valuable workshop that you have provided. And I will repost this on our Eastern Town Hall YouTube channel, so you can share it to any channel that you want. And thank you so much. Thank you again for your contribution to the community. Thank you.